Hello, hello. Happy Thursday, everybody.
Hey, we're live. What's going on, everybody? Stephanie and David here. We're doing something a little bit different tonight for your Thursday Night Live. A lot of times we'll come to you with either client case studies or topics that are relevant to healing from the cycle of unhealthy relationships. Tonight we're doing a no holds barred Q&A session. We posted in the Facebook group Toxic Relationship Recovery Strategies for Professional Women earlier today, asking for you to submit your questions. And we're hoping that you'll be able to join us live and ask some questions as well. Again, nothing's off the table, whether this is questions about your specific situation in terms of how to heal your life and move forward from a cycle of unhealthy relationships, what healthy relationships look like, anything related to coaching in general, working with us, anything
How
like
we
that.
help people. Yeah.
Yeah. So let us know. Anything you wanted to.
No, but like David said, I mean, this is your opportunity to get to pick our brains. So, definitely stick around and ask all of the questions so that you can get them answered from professionals, not people that just have heard about it or don't do this every single day. This is definitely an opportunity to talk to people that help people very quickly heal from toxic relationships instead of like taking years and years to work through the trauma that you've all experienced.
If you guys can see us and hear us all right, do us a favor, let us know in the comments. I'm just going to go ahead and try to pin this to the top of the group.
Got the book and the workbook about to start this weekend. Awesome. Congratulations.
Cool. Very good.
Good job. Get in there. Yeah, the workbook is definitely, the book is a great place to start to just kind of get a little bit more information about me and my experience and then other people's experience of overcoming toxic relationships. And the workbook is really great for people that are looking to dive in and start actually taking the steps they need to heal themselves. So Being Loved Shouldn't Hurt is the book and the workbook. We offer that on my website. And we also actually offer that as a digital download with the Essentials Toolkit, which includes a 45-minute session with me. All right, David is manning the comments, so he'll be looking at the comments. We're actually streaming on TikTok, we're streaming from StreamYard. StreamYard doesn't always show us who is asking the question. So David is going to be on his laptop looking for any questions that were emailed and also in the Facebook group to see what questions we have. So let's get all the questions. So if you have a question related to anything related to your healing, put them in the comments. Wherever you're watching from, put them in the comments. We'll do our best to answer all of them. We plan on being a half hour, but if we need to last a little bit longer because there's a whole bunch of questions, feel free to ask those questions. Don't feel worried. And of course, as always, if you're watching this as a replay and you have a question, please still ask that question.
Yeah, type it in the comments.
Interact as if you're watching live and just tag David and I so that we are able to see the question. I see something right here. Nobody told me the highs and lows of the healing journey.
So yeah, let's make sure that we're on point and we can answer your questions. So any comments or your personal stories, whatever the case, do us a favor, phrase it in the form of a question so we know that we can answer you accurately and effectively. Cindy says, hi, guys. Hi, Cindy.
Hello.
Good to see you with us. Amazon, Nina. Cool.
So Nina, the highs and lows of the healing journey. I mean, there is discomfort that goes along with the healing journey. That's something that we talk about with our clients all the time is that, in order to do something you've never done before, you have to be willing to do something you've never done before. So part of that is actually confronting the pain and discomfort that you've been avoiding. So many of us that are codependent, we've been in these cycles before. This is not our first unhealthy relationship. We have gone from one relationship into another one, carrying that baggage from the past into the new relationship because we haven't healed it. It takes the time, energy, and the right guidance, support, and tools to really make sure that we do the right work so that we don't repeat the same patterns. If we continue to avoid it and we keep pushing it off and pretending like, hey, I don't want to deal with it, I think I can just figure it out on my own, I'm just not going to do that again, then pretty good chance we're going to repeat that same cycle in another relationship. So the healing journey is about looking at all of those things that we have not dealt with before so that we can heal them, work through them, and now actually see our lives and see the possibility of relationships through a different lens. So yeah, it can definitely be a little bit of a roller coaster sometimes.
Yeah, Nina, I'll sort of layer onto that. It's been said we suffer because of our expectations. And, you say nobody told me how high and low the healing journey is. What did you expect? If the healing process was easy, we'd all be
everyone
happy
would be
and
doing
blissed
it.
out,
Yeah, it's
right?
true. Which is why a lot of people avoid it also.
Yeah. So, and I think this is, applicable to any area of our lives where we're feeling disappointed, where we feel there's a struggle. And it's sort of a fundamental principle that I like, that, a good life isn't about having everything go as you expect. It's about having a sense internally, fundamentally, that no matter what comes your way, you can choose happiness, even when things aren't going your way. And I know, personally with my life, and some of you know my story, that, even though I would have preferred in retrospect that I treated certain people better when I was going through the worst of my pain, my dark night of the soul, if you would, from where I stand now, I wouldn't change a thing. Yeah, there have been a lot of ups and downs, hitting bottom and then picking up a shovel and digging deeper. So no, it's not easy, but with the right frame of mind, it's definitely worth it, because there's a saying that says that, even in our really all of our challenges contain the seed of equal or greater benefit. And one way to sort of recontextualize that and deal with the highs and lows is understanding that you either win in life or you learn. So instead of feeling beat up, we tell our clients all the time, look for the lesson. Decide that it can mean that your pain could mean something else. Your ability to choose differently and decide what something means for yourself instead of what other people tell you it should mean is a really powerful thing. But yeah, I totally feel you. A lot of ups and downs for sure.
So, and then Nina had a follow-up question. How do you stop feeling like your progress just went out the window? Well, I mean, I would probably need a little bit more information to fully answer that. But there is like what Dave was saying, what I was saying before, there is the ups and downs. And sometimes you have to take 2 steps forward and take a step back in order to review what you're learning. Sometimes the universe says, nope, you're not learning. We've got to give you another lesson to really show you what you need to look at, what you need to focus on. So, instead of maybe thinking of it as my progress went out the window, is, oh, there's another opportunity for growth, or here's an area that I still need more work with. And then look at maybe your healing team. Who's on your team? Do you have the right people to support you in a way that's going to really get you to your goals?
Yeah, and also bear in mind that a lot of growth is not immediately apparent. Like the analogy of bamboo, it can go like weeks or months of growth that's completely below the surface. You can't see it, and then it reaches a critical point, and then it shoots up 100 feet overnight. And when you feel like your progress went out the window, that may not be the case. We say it all the time. Healing is not a linear process, and with every trial, every challenge that you face, you're building your emotional muscle. So again, might be an opportunity to reassess and examine your expectations for yourself, and give yourself some credit, because again, it sometimes you need to get that lesson over and over again until you fully integrate it and understand it. So progress is progress. Realistically, you could set a rule for yourself that, hey, if I get out of bed this morning, that's progress. And sometimes that's a big win in and of itself.
Sometimes it's the best you can do. Chauve Souris said, what is your advice for restarting life as a codependent and doing things independently? The mess of a house, mass organizational issues, anxiety ridden. I feel like I'm transferring my inability to keep up in my personal life to my loved ones and emburdening them, even though some are asking if I need help. I feel like I'm avoiding the essential independent living skills and using others as a crutch. It's a shame cycle. I'm afraid to reach out for help or actually take action steps. Well, first of all, congratulations on realizing that you have fear. There's fear. There's fear in change, because one of the things that we fear about change is, who will I be once I change? So many of us sabotage our ability to change because we're afraid of what we could be, what our strength is, who we can possibly become. Now, what do we recommend to all of our clients when we start working with them? This is the example that I was find a little bit kind of, I guess, ironic, because I am like a vegetarian and mostly plant-based, but I say this to all my clients: how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So, when something is really big, that big elephant in the room, that big thing that's there, that's looming, that's
that messy house,
whatever all those things is, little pieces at a time. Instead of looking at all the things you just listed, I can feel the overwhelm there. Like, yeah, of course you're overwhelmed. Look at all of the things that's going on there. But instead, if we look at, the little piece, the very next step, then we can start taking action on it. It's really important to break things down. It's also really important to have the right person to guide you at what exactly you should be starting with. You want to be careful that you're not, if you don't have a lot of energy and you're feeling really confused and all over the place, you don't want to be, you want to take the energy that you have and focus it in the spots that are going to cause the biggest opening. Small hinges open big doors. So those, sometimes the smallest thing that you might not think is a big deal is going to be the thing that totally changes your perspective. So you want to make sure that you're focusing on that. You're focusing on the things that are going to actually make those massive changes for you more quickly.
Yeah, 100%. I want to kind of layer on as well. First of all, one thing I'm going to recommend is when you say, what is your advice for restarting life as a codependent? I think it's really important to put down the labels.
Yeah.
Because if, you are what you believe yourself to be. And that's, not necessarily fact. A lot of times our labels are arbitrary. So you might consider, feeding your subconscious mind better messages, because every time you say I'm codependent, your subconscious mind, it eats what you feed it. It digests what you feed it.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important not to get caught up in labels, because that's a good way for us to get stuck. The other thing that I think is important to consider, and we see this all the time too, our outer environment very often reflects our inner environment. So, and I use with clients all the time the analogy of us being hoarders in a figurative sense, like, emotionally and mentally. So if your outer world is cluttered, again, if you've ever seen the show Hoarders, it's not about rationalizing or justifying. It's not about understanding why you got all this stuff, right? You can see a therapist for that if you want to look backwards. But sometimes the solution is to clean house. Okay. So if and this can have benefits for your external environment as well as your internal environment. If your house is a mess, start with one pile, start with one drawer, start with one closet, start with one room.
Mm-hmm.
And again, a good rule of thumb is if you, like with clothing, I think they say if you haven't worn something in the last 6 months, donate it or get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
But this is an opportunity for you, and a golden opportunity, because you're asking this question, right? So give yourself credit, but it's an opportunity to assess the clutter, literally or figuratively, that you have in your life, and ask yourself, did this serve a purpose in the past? Generally speaking, the answer is going to be yes, right? Does it serve where I'm looking to go in the future? Does it support who I'm looking to become? If it doesn't, clear it out. And we get into more detail in client sessions and stuff like that, those hidden subconscious reasons why we cling on to the old, right? Like I use the analogy all the time of a hot potato, it's burning your hands. But if subconsciously you're like, oh, I invested so much into this potato, it's my only potato, I'll never eat again, you're going to continue to hold on and get burned. So we take sort of a two-pronged approach: cut the painful emotional ties to your past and create a compelling vision for the future. There's more to it when we get into subconscious belief shifting, which is really the most powerful way I know of to get leverage on yourself to transform. But when it comes to clutter, that's a great tangible opportunity to improve your life inward and outward. So start cleaning up.
And I'm going to add to that too. This is something that we talk about a lot. If we feel like, here's the phrase, I am a codependent. I am someone who gets in toxic relationships. I am someone who's not good with money. I am someone who overeats. So I'm not saying it's not good to be aware of yourself, but the more you tell yourself these things, they become you. And then when you're working on becoming a more empowered version of yourself, You got to start changing the way you talk about yourself. David is really good with that with Psych K. That mindset is so important when you're looking at healing. Because if we keep telling ourselves that we are someone who chooses unhealthy people, then we're going to keep choosing unhealthy people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just it's like what they say when you're getting into a car accident, you want to look away from the thing that you're trying to avoid, not look at it, because then you're going to run right into it. It's literally the same thing when it comes to mindset. If you're focusing on the thing you want to avoid, then that's exactly what you're going to keep attracting.
Yeah, and the reality is these subconscious beliefs are self-fulfilling. And Dr. Joe Dispenza says that, brain cells that fire together wire together. So when you're in that situation where you're reaffirming yourself in the present moment, who you were in the past, you're shutting down your ability to actually change. Okay. And you're not going to think your way out of it. You have to choose to catch yourself responding in these old conditioned ways, right? And choose to start creating a different story. That self-talk is so important. And again, it's more than just a conscious exercise. What we do with our clients in the inner circle is give them access to the actual programs, the subconscious beliefs that run all the time, very often in the background without you even being aware of it, right? That negative self-talk, and shift that to positive. The really powerful thing there is you can literally change undesirable aspects of your personality and transform them into the best version of yourself, and see improvements in virtually any area of your life almost immediately. So whether that's low self-esteem, procrastination, poor health, creating and attracting toxic relationships over and over again, whatever it is, once you get to the root of that self-talk, those habitual thoughts and feelings that lead you to take the same actions and then repeat the cycle over and over and over again, you can make real change happen very quickly. And you'll know it when it happens, because you'll viscerally feel a shift from stress and anxiety and overwhelm to clarity, to peace, to joy, to enthusiasm, and begin to embrace the unknown and start to recreate yourself anew. It's so powerful.
Great questions.
So yeah, show up says very helpful. So much. Thanks. Literal and figurative clutter. Summer cleaning and healing time. Yeah, just do it. And we're here to support you. Obviously, we want to come to you with a lot of helpful free content. But we're always open to having a chat to see if any of the tools that we offer can help you get the results you're looking for more quickly. Mm-hmm. Awesome. So it's amazing how time flies. We're already like more than halfway through.
Any other questions that you see?
Let's see.
Were there any ones sent ahead of time?
Yeah, we have some that came in as well from the post. Okay, so let's see. Mayra says, what if you have a disability? Clarify that for us, would you? I'd like to,
I've spoken to Myra.
Okay. Invisible disability.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I don't want to assume, but are you referring to mental or emotional obstacles? If you want to give us a little bit more context, I'd be happy to kind of touch on that. Let me go. I made a note of some of the questions that were asked in the post earlier. Should we get to
one
of these? Okay. Let's see. So Tammy wrote, I had a mental breakdown and left my husband after 20 years of a narcissist. I got involved with a guy that was using drugs and I didn't know it. After nearly losing my family over him and him robbing me blind, I put myself in a stress center and learned some coping skills to get over all the damage done. Now I can't even see myself in a relationship. I don't trust myself to make good judgments, so it's easier to be alone, but I get lonely. Any advice? You want to start?
Well, I mean, it's first of all, congratulations on leaving. I mean, that feels really hard to do and overwhelming, especially after 20 years. That's a long history with someone. So congratulations on leaving. The person having a drug addiction, I mean, I can speak from my personal experiences that when I married my first husband, he had a cocaine addiction and a pill addiction that I was not aware of. And he would spend all night long using cocaine till whatever time in the morning. and then finally stopped doing that, but then just switched to only using narcotic pills. And he used to just, like, what do you call it, nod out on the couch. I'd be all worried that he was going to die. So it's stressful. It's super, super stressful. And learning how to believe that there is, not everybody is like that, can feel really difficult and overwhelming. When we have someone that we fell in love with, that we didn't see that, it can be really hard to let our guard down and say, hey, not everybody is a lying drug addict. I mean, let's be real. That when we associate that with relationships, 20 years is a good chunk of your life. You associate relationships with that. And for a lot of people watching too, they associate relationships because their parents had some kind of addiction, and that's what they saw. So love, we talk about all the time, being loved shouldn't hurt. Love for us is associated with stress and overwhelm and distrusting and all of those things. So the biggest thing I could say to you is really, if you've done work already and you're still feeling like you have these trust issues, then there are things that need to be worked on for you. Sessions with David, with Psyche, the subconscious beliefs about what's possible for you, what is a healthy relationship, all of that. But also learning, you got to learn how to trust yourself again. Because how many times did we tell ourselves we were going to stop doing something or we weren't going to put up with it, and we stayed and put up with it? So there's a lot of relearning that has to happen. There's a lot of the subconscious stuff that needs to be cleared out. Think about it as like, a pond that has all this like dirt that's coming up on the bottom. You got to clear all that stuff out before you can start really stepping in. And also too, finding someone, like, once you're able to actually trust someone to be in a relationship, but also making sure that you don't find the same type of person again. The last thing you want is to end up with another partner like that. And I know that that's something that is subconsciously bothering you as well. So, being afraid of not knowing what the signs are and all that. So that's some trust, and that's something we can hop on a call and see if there's anything that we could talk about with you to really figure out if there's anything in particular that we can tell, or if there's something we can do to help you, like with our program or something like that.
Right on. And I would add, Tammy, that a couple of things. Your past does not have to equal your future unless you remain tied to it. And again, with traumatic situations, this is how these patterns get formed. So we really need to be able to cut ties with the past. The more emotionally intense an event in your past is, the more your subconscious will keep you focused on what caused it. And again, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, the other thing I'm going to ask is, you put yourself in a stress center. Okay, seeking help is admirable, and it's really important. We believe in seeking help on the level where the problem exists. If you're in an acute mental health crisis, get help. I spent my 16th birthday in a mental hospital for suicidal depression. That was serious, and I needed to get away, in a sense. And I spent 2 months in there. So when you're in a dangerous situation, get help right away. Now, what you mentioned, though, is that you learned some coping skills to get over all the damage done. But then you said you can't see yourself in a relationship, but you're lonely. You don't trust yourself or your judgment. So, my question is going to be, do you want coping skills to be able to just deal with stuff, to smooth it over and get by? Or do you want to heal it at a deep level? Mm-hmm. And again, mental health, seeing a psychiatrist, a therapist, even getting on medication. Again, if it's an acute issue and you need that help to get over a major hurdle, do that. But the reason that Steph and I opted to become coaches instead of psychologists, because we've studied it, Steph has a degree in psychology, mm-hmm. is because we're more about moving forward and helping you actually heal so you can live that life, right? Therapy is great, but it's generally involved in looking back to the past, how things got screwed up, and sort of understanding that. But if you're trying to drive forward while you're looking in the rear view mirror, you're going to crash, right? So it may be that and again, sometimes you need to be able to cope, but it doesn't sound like you've quote unquote gotten over the damage.
Yeah.
So again, when you're in a traumatic situation, whether you were abused as a child, you've been in a history of abusive relationships, there are these patterns that get formed at the subconscious mind that keep your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors constantly flowing in the same direction. In order to break those cycles, you need to get down to your operating system, your programming, these literal neural networks where the neurons are wired together in a certain way, and change those. And current understandings in neuroscience and the concept of neuroplasticity show that these neural networks can be pruned and reformed into healthier patterns literally within minutes. I know we've got some of our inner circle members and graduates watching right now. They could chime in and attest to the power of the high-speed mindset change work that we do that literally helps people get over lifelong trauma and childhood wounds in a matter of minutes. So when it's a matter of not trusting yourself, I've seen over and over again that's a huge one. We can get to the root cause and transform that so you can easily become the future version of you, a better version of you who does trust yourself. Not just because you consciously recognize, well, okay, I should, if it's going to be, it's up to me and blah, 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 but at a deep visceral level. So without even thinking about it, you wake up in the morning feeling like, you know what, I may not know what today has in store for me, but whatever it is, I got it. I'm worthy and deserving. I can trust myself to make good decisions. I'm not ashamed of making mistakes because I take the opportunity to learn and grow, and I can always choose something different. I can always choose a new thought in as soon as the next moment. Self-trust is huge. When you get to trust yourself, then you'll get to the point where you more easily recognize red flags in relationships, and you actually don't even entertain people who are not congruent with your vibe. You'll stop attracting untrustworthy people into your life. Sounds a little weird and woo-woo, which I'm fine with, but that's the reality. So so the healing, it sounds like the healing needs to be done. And again, Tim, if you want to chat, you can shoot me a direct message, or Stephanie, and we can talk more about that. So hopefully that was helpful. Let's see. Okay, Band-Aids versus doing the actual healing. I see what you meant by that. Forward focus, what helps us in the now, and growing stronger self-awareness is so key. Absolutely, Shove. Thank you for that. Myra says neuroplasticity is awesome. Most people don't realize how powerful they truly are. And it's my absolute joy to be able to show that to the people I get to work with. So hopefully that was helpful. Tammy, we still got some more time. Let's see. Okay. I don't think we have any more coming up in the comments here. We'll go to another one that was in the post from earlier. This one's from Betty. How do you get over a relationship from the past that was good and then it was destroyed? It took me 3 years to trust a man. I've been in a relationship for 5 years, and every once in a while things are said or done that triggers memories. And the guy I'm with, all he says is, get over it. How do I get over it? I feel like you should start with this one. Right? Like, there are a couple things going on here.
Okay. Well, there's the first thing is that the 3 years to trust a man. Okay. Well, one of the things that we see a lot of times too is that when we haven't done the healing in between relationships, we don't necessarily attract the healthiest of people. So this person, even though they might be better than what you've experienced before, doesn't sound like he's still too healthy. Because if I was having issues and David told me, get over it, he'd be packing. No. Even now, they're like, no, that's not going to work for me. This is not a healthy response. This is not a communication where there's back and forth support and respect and all of that kind of stuff. Now, what do you need to do to get over it? Well, one of the things that I'll notice that, and I share the story, is that I did a lot of work on myself before I started dating David, before I found David. I did a lot of introspection and a lot of things that we teach clients in the inner circle. I did all of that great stuff. And I was changed. I was a completely different person. I saw things from a very different perspective. I was not attracted to the same types of people. Those people were turnoffs for me. And then here it is, I meet David, and we have a beautiful son together. And then a little while later, we have a beautiful daughter together. And about 2 months or so after we have our daughter, my sister calls me up and says, hey, we should go to, you should come visit me in Colorado and we can go do a half marathon. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this sounds like a great idea. I love exercising. I can't say I'm an avid runner, but I do run. And I hadn't done any of that since I had a baby, since being pregnant, having a baby and all that. And I was feeling kind of, postpartum and not feeling so great about myself. And I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. So her and I, we come up with this whole plan. I might have even gotten the tickets. Like, I don't know. I did everything. And then David comes around the corner and says, hey, are you going to Colorado? And we lived in New York. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, okay, well, maybe you can just talk to me about it next time. And so I was like, okay. And so I sat for about 5 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. And I thought to myself, okay, what was that? And my first thought was like, I could do whatever I want. He can't tell me what to do. Like, first automatic. Then I thought to myself, wait, that's not what he's saying. So there was a trigger from the past. I was realizing that there was something going on that I was bringing into my current relationship. And then as I thought about it, I realized that in the past, I wouldn't have asked permission to go because it would have been a fight. I would have asked for forgiveness afterwards. So to try to avoid frustration and stress, I just would do the thing and sometimes be a little shady, because I didn't want to have to be told no and ask permission as an adult. And I decided, I wasn't going to do that. So here I was with someone. So I went up to David afterwards. I said, hey, listen, I am so sorry that I didn't talk to you about bringing the kids to go to Colorado to go to this half marathon. And David was like, I would never tell you no. It's just something that we should probably talk about. And we should have that conversation as a couple. And I was like, no, you're totally right. So sometimes as things goes on, and he was right. I should have been talking to him about it. He's my partner. He's my friend. He's not someone who's going to keep me. And he said, he's like, I'm never going to be someone that keeps you from being you. But because my past experience kept me from being me, my automatic response was to do what I had always done before in past relationships. That was the way that I could do things, is I had to have a fight about it. So that might be a long way of answering that a person who is healthy, if you're in a healthy relationship, if something like that comes up, instead of the person telling you, get over it, you can take a minute to introspectively look at yourself and look at why you're doing the thing that you're doing, and then have a real open conversation that's vulnerable with your partner, because in a healthy relationship, we're not afraid to be vulnerable. So we share, hey, I am sorry. This is what I was feeling. This is what was going on in my mind, and being able to talk it through with a healthy person. So I think the biggest response to that is, what is your communication like with this current person? Are you able to be vulnerable? Are you able to share your wants and needs? Are they respectful, and do they listen to your wants and needs? Because, realistically, there's not one person here that is perfect. There's going to be things that come up sometimes that we're like, oops, that was not very nice. That was not very thoughtful, and when you're in a healthy relationship, you're able to talk about anything and everything that comes up without being put down or made to feel less than because of whatever experience that you had.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I agree with that. Obviously, as Steph described, there was still some, maybe remnants from old patterns that surfaced even after we had done the work. And when we met, it was chemistry. We entered into the relationship as two relatively whole, free, peaceful people. Mm-hmm. But there are always going to be opportunities. We all screw up from time to time. We all say things that we regret after the fact. But if you're noticing that this response of, for example, get over it is a repeating pattern, number one, my advice is always going to be work on yourself so you understand healthy boundaries and assertive communication, and a willingness to get clear on and stand for what you truly deserve, in terms of relationship. But all relationships, I think, ultimately are a reflection of our relationship with ourselves. So, doing that work to make sure that you are your own best friend, your own greatest love, not in the sense of being arrogant, conceited, self-centered, or self-absorbed, but that you really give yourself the love and care and healing attention that perhaps you had once expected or hoped for from other people is really a crucial thing. I know
I'm going to add just one more thing to that too, because as I'm thinking about this again, one of the things I also need to make sure that I add is that your journey is your journey for healing. So, do you want to get over it? And if you do, what kind of support are you getting to get over it? What kind of baggage are you bringing into the relationship, and how are you taking responsibility to heal that baggage and leave that baggage at the door? So I don't think his response is appropriate or supportive.
It's not really the kindest way.
It's not the kindest way, but I will say that we are each responsible for our own baggage, our own histories that we need to work through. It is not, we're not
emotional reactions.
It is not our partner's responsibility to be the therapist or coach for our partner. That's the responsibility of a therapist or coach. So I think that's something important to add as well.
Yeah. And again, our mission is to create a safe, non-judgmental space where we can help you unpack your baggage and then pack light for maybe a better destination.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, again, no judgment implied in that, but we take the liberty as coaches and mentors to call it like we see it. So sometimes it comes across as tough love. But
so again, we have maybe time for maybe one more question. I know if there's anybody who's watching live, if you have a question for us, feel free to ask.
Yeah, I wanted to get back to Mayra too, because she elaborated in terms of invisible disability.
And again, if you're watching this as a replay, make sure you tag David and I. We will go back and answer questions, and we would like to do some more Q&As. Has this been helpful so far? Write in the comments helpful if this is something that's been helpful for you so far, because a lot of times we come in and we're teaching a specific topic. I think for me, I feel like it's really great to be able to answer the questions you have directly, so you don't have to try to sit around and guess what your answer is, because a lot of times too, where we watch videos, we read books, we do all these things, but we don't have specific answers to help ourselves. Where Q&As like this, where you can ask us anything, we can give you an answer that is specific for your needs without having to try to guess.
Cool. So again, I just wanted to address Mayra's point. I have anxiety, traumatic brain injury, and ADHD. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I call myself a transformation enthusiast. Generally speaking, recommendations that I make are based on my own personal experience, my own personal truth. But again, I'm always going to suggest that you seek help from a qualified professional, particularly in terms of things like traumatic brain injury, neuroplasticity, and some of what I'm starting to explore with, for example, functional mushrooms and other nootropics and nutritional support are really powerful. One of the things I want to try out soon is lion's mane, which is a functional mushroom that's been shown to regrow brain cells, and other things like detoxing from things like parasites and heavy metals have been shown to positively affect mental and emotional health, as well as proper support nutritionally. I can tell by, for example, taking magnesium at night, specifically magnesium glycinate, and I want to try magnesium threonate as well. It helps with mood and also B complex. So again, these are just from my perspective, not intended to be medical advice in any way, shape, or form. But the other thing you mentioned, Mayor, I want to address is anxiety. Anxiety is generally a fight or flight response. It's a result of these programs that were imprinted as a way to cope, as a way to heal. But if you're stuck in that fight or flight mode after the imminent danger has passed, that means that there is a program that's been imprinted in your brain that needs to be shifted, because chronic anxiety and stress has profound detrimental effects. So again, that's something that we address with clients all the time. And that is actually a wonderful process in the method of high-speed mindset change called Psych-K that I use with clients, that serves to transform your perception of a stressful situation into peaceful non-attachment. It's essentially a way to reset your nervous system and pull out that chronic anxiety at the roots, and you'll know because you will feel better. You can literally go in your mind after the rewiring in your brain has been done and bring to mind the memories of maybe what started you in down this path of anxiety, and you will feel a sense of peaceful non-attachment. You'll have a sense of, oh, I'm okay now. And the benefit of that really can't be described in words. So yeah, I think we're just about at the end. Everyone, thank you for watching. Let's, if you're watching this as a replay, like Steph said, and we didn't get to your question, or we didn't get to your question during the live, type it in the comments, tag us. We'll be happy to go back. We're here to serve. And, you know, every once in a while, we like to do these Q&As. A little bit different. We love the conversational style. We love the interaction with you guys. So again, hopefully this was helpful for everyone. Any last thoughts you want to tack on before we?
No, I mean, if there's ever anything where you're questioning, is this normal? Is this, you know, what is this? You can always, somebody in the very beginning just talked about how what does that say? There's always someone who wants to find out about how they can really start taking the steps that they need. So if they are looking at the Essentials Toolkit, for example, they can get a digital copy of my book and my workbook, which gives the exact right tools that you need, the exact right steps that you need. You also will be able to get a 45-minute session with me to find out what's the right fit for you. We always want to make sure that we're helping clients with where they're at. That's another great thing. And of course, send us a private message. David and I are very available to people that are asking for help. If you're looking for support.
Yeah, we definitely make ourselves available. We're usually tied up with client calls and stuff, but we do our best to respond as quickly as possible. So if we don't get back to you immediately, just be patient and we will definitely get back to you.
Yes. So have a wonderful night, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in.
This was fun. Hopefully this was helpful. And that being said, like Steph says all the time, you are way stronger than you realize. And thanks for joining us. We will see you in the group.
Have a great night, everybody.